Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Under Hood Show presented by Hambelton Ford. My name is Phil Nightingale and Josh Fry. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning.
Beautiful day out there, isn't it?
Yes,
on a
it
beautiful
is.
Saturday morning. So, hey, it's call-in show 316-462-3673. Anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, anything you want to talk about in the automobile world, love to hear from you. And you get a great price package about over $130. And as always, Josh, what's in that lovely package?
So we're going to mail it out to you, but it's going to consist of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Hambelton Ford. While we're performing that, we're going to complete a multi-point inspection on your vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components, making sure that vehicle's ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll also receive yourself $10 to Mel's Diner, so you can get yourself something to eat and drink while you're here with us at the Big Corner. You get complete nitrogen for your tires, so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer. And then a BG Products package, which consists of a can of MOA or motor oil additive for your engine oil, and then CF5 for your fuel system. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving.
All right, 316-462-3673. Morning, Delbert. Glad you joined us ready here. And guy, we kind of missed everybody last Saturday.
Yeah. So sorry about not being on last Saturday, but also thanks for the patience for letting us not be on last Saturday. So
very true.
Yeah, little of both ways. Go ahead.
Yeah, everybody. We were closed on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so the whole store got a three-day weekend, which was very cool. From that part, so excited for that part of the equation too. So
hope everybody had a safe and happy Memorial weekend for sure.
Yes,
as well.
Exactly. So anyway, let's get the phones ringing. 316-462-3673, and love to hear from you on anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, whatever it might be. Josh, you got something up your sleeve this morning?
Do.
So what do you got?
I do. So today, I thought we would talk about a couple of different topics. So Kelly and I got the opportunity to go to it was Southeast High, but it was which is I'd never been there before, didn't even know it was on 127th and Pawnee this week. So it was for the whole USD 259 school district, and they bus the kids in from the different schools to that deal, and it was a college career fair day. And so we went down to that school as a relatively new school for sure.
Oh, really? Southeast is new?
Yep. I don't know if maybe it was somewhere else and they had just built that one, or what the but first time in going to that school. But anyways, they had different classes. So basically we spoke with 4 different classes, and they could there was an app that they had, and they could go through on the app and basically kind of pick career fields that they were interested in, and then that was your class size for that group. But anyways, we had quite a few students come through, but being able to show the technology that these new cars, we took a Mach-E out there, and then we also took a limited F-150 out there as well. But just being able to show these students all the technology and all the components in these vehicles, I think we get calloused just being in this industry day in and day out and seeing
it's normal for us.
Yeah. So, when a new model comes out for us, it may be 1 or 2 things that they add because you're used to all the old features. But when you take somebody that's never even been in, a Ford product, or somebody that's, the last Ford product they had was from 5 years ago or 6 years, like there is so much technology that changes in that time span or time gap. And so, I think back over my career time in this industry and think of like where it's came from where it started out, and it's huge. But then it just doesn't seem as big when you take it in little bites, when it's the change comes 1 or 2 items at a time. But the amount of safety that goes on in one of these new vehicles, that's some of the things that I wanted to talk about today, was specifically safety, the technology and safety that I don't even think drivers even know or understand is there.
I think a customer, there's a stat out there that they really know 20% of what's on their car.
Yeah.
and they probably use 5% of what's on their car.
Yeah.
But if they knew about the other 80%, how much more would they use? I guess.
Well, or maybe not so much use it, but the perceived value, of
okay.
when
Yeah.
you're looking at a vehicle and it's $80,000 or,
Try to understand why it is 80 grand.
$60,000, like why is it that much? But I think if you really understood the vehicle and what it was doing and all that was put into it, the engineering and the testing and stuff like that, then I think the conversation would be, well, how can they sell it for $80,000? From that side of it, and so it was had a great time out there, and just to see going over a list of what the vehicle would do. And I had 4 different classes, and I know for a fact I didn't hit everything on all 4 classes. I'm sure there's stuff that I forgot about that, that I didn't get to convey to them is what was on the vehicle. And so, but just the awestruck and the technology that's in these things and everybody's perception of a technician and what that is like versus what it actually is so much different.
Oh yeah, I agree with that too. Okay, so what do you got to show us? I see you got the other screen up ready to go.
I do. So we've got another screen here, but today talking specifically about technology. So, well, I don't. Yeah, you can go ahead and flip this deal over here, and then if you go down
Here,
come one over right there. Yeah, click on that thing. So today starting to talk, anyways, specifically about ADAS. Systems.
Okay, what the heck's ADAS?
Okay, so
I don't know what that is either.
Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. That's what ADAS stands for.
Okay, and that's all these circles.
Yeah, that's all these. So this is not even really 100% of what could be. But if you look at all these sensors and all these cameras and different things that these vehicles have, and I don't know, we may take this banner down here just so we can see the definitions. Up there.
Here, right?
I think it's back in the captions and then scroll down. Yeah, there you go. So click on that deal.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
But all the different radars and cameras and all of this stuff that's on these vehicles. Like, I don't think the everyday consumer, really any consumers, understands what your vehicle is monitoring or looking
as you're driving down the road.
You're just driving down the road.
Even sitting there, it's doing this stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have everything on here from lane.
Okay, let's start off with long range radio wave. That's the one at that silver or gray bar coming out, just pedestrian access. So that's what it's watching for people, right?
Mm-hmm. So you have, and that's the other thing is all the different versions of cameras. So you have actual cameras, you have LiDAR, you have radar, you have sonar, just the different things. And then, I mean, I'll even take this one step further, and I think you're privy to this, or, we've talked about this week too, is that now you take all these systems and when they're all working great, it's perfect. But when they're not, like, it can be a real nightmare to figure out something. I mean, we've got instance with the Blue Cruise right now that we're fighting. And honestly, at the end of the day, I don't even think that it's anything that a technician can fix. I think it's in the configuration from engineering.
Yeah,
that they have to fix in order to be able to give the technician his tools to do what he needs to do.
Well, it's kind of like my analogy that I've used back before in my day as a technician. If you walked in the shop and I had my shop manual, I had no clue what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Today, if you're not sitting there with a computer, there's no way you're going to diagnose these cars. But again, and I remember somebody making fun of me about putting updates in cars. But that is true. There's so many situations now today that updates fix these cars.
Well, and I mean, we can even go stepping aside from this a little bit, but Ford's even pushing a model. And there's a lot of manufacturers out there that are pushing the same model, but going to over-the-air updates, because there are so many situations where tweaking or modifying a calibration one way or the other will fix a concern or even prevent a concern from even happening. And so a lot of these manufacturers or automobiles, when they're at home at night and they're hooked to your Wi-Fi, they're repairing themselves.
Yeah. They are. They're updating and doing the stuff. Yeah.
And so for them to be able to do that, it's definitely cool. But also, and it's just a matter of consumer experience, less number of visits to a dealership, things like that. But just over all these systems here, the amount of safety that's in here. But then what I want to point out, or what I want to talk about in this, is the average consumer doesn't understand that you can do a minuscule thing to say this vehicle on the screen. Let's say you replace a side mirror on this vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You
got some programming to do.
You got to go through a recalibration and programming just for putting a side mirror on it.
Yeah, because a lot of the cameras are in the mirror.
Yeah. There's cameras in the mirror for the side detection, like your panoramic view, stuff like that. Let's say you put like a headlight in this vehicle.
Oh yeah, I can tell that already. That's going to be
So typically now a headlight bulb, to change a headlight bulb years ago, it was a matter of flipping it out.
A couple screws, and my deal was the old big old round headlights and putting a real chrome ring around, and I got a Phillips screw in the bottom holding her in.
And you put it in there?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, to change a headlight bulb now on a car, you're 2.5 hours into it, because you remove the front bumper fascia, you pull the headlight out, then you're changing the bulb from there. Now, does a headlight go out like it used to?
No. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
But
yeah,
the consumer doesn't understand that or know what you have to go to. Now you get it all back together, and you've got to go through and do another
calibration and seeing how to set it up so it does work correctly.
So when we got this new machinery, and this has been, I don't know, probably a year ago at this point. This equipment to go through and redo all these calibrations. We brought it's from Hunter, and we brought the Hunter technician in to train all the technicians on how to use this.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about is you take just any one of these sensors. So take your pedestrian access sensor or the traffic signal sensor out there, and you take that sensor, and let's say it's off a 0.5 degree or even less. Let's say it's off a 1/10 of a degree or an 1/8 of a degree. Which, you think about that, that's nothing.
I think it is, yeah.
But then you take that distance and you go out 30 foot
and add that
or 40 foot as to where it's looking. So he had a slide, and I should have seen if I could get it. But so you're monitoring. Let's say you're monitoring the vehicle in front of you for the braking system, and it's off an 1/8 of a degree. By the time you get to where it's monitoring it, it's actually monitoring the complete opposite lane than what the vehicle's in.
Yeah, because it's misaligned. Yeah.
Because it's misaligned. And so now that system is not doing you any good.
Yeah.
Or
it could cause you to crash.
It could cause you to crash on the other side of it. And so the calibration of these things, and then, how does it get off? Okay, well, did we hit a bird and it, busted up the front grill, or did we change a component one way or the other? One of the things that we get into, or we have gotten into, is a customer hits something or scratches something, takes to a body shop, and they paint it. And the thickness of the paint on the sensor is too much, and it doesn't allow the system to do what it needs to do.
I still remember, going back a little bit, we used to put the chrome rocker panels on vehicles to make them look good on the bottom. And we'd put it between the fender, between the wheels, and we put them on the backside of the trucks and stuff. And I remember it was just, this was probably at least 5-6 years ago, and put them chrome pieces on the back. And also know we got blind spot errors because the camera was right back there, and putting that piece of cladding on there blocked that sensor from seeing the blind spot marker. Had to take them off. So yeah, it's crucial on how much these things. And so now let's go back through again. You set this machine up to recalibrate. How long does it take it to calibrate?
So honestly, it depends on the vehicle that you're working on, the number of systems that are in there, but it can take up to 2.5 hours. if you have, multiple subsystems, and the thing is, you adjust one camera and then this affects those cameras and that affects these cameras. And so it's not like just go in and take care of the one system. Everything's interlinked or interconnected. And when you change one thing, you've got to go through and update everything
It'd be
else.
interesting to go to the assembly line and watch them as they're building these things and calibrating these cameras and all that stuff.
And then the other thing is that these, like the system that we have, it actually gives you like a certification stamp or letter at the end of the program
to know that everything
is good to go. And if you've not got that, then you got to figure out what's going on or why it's not doing that. But so one of the things that we got into this week was involving these systems and glass windshields. I always talk about really you get what you pay for, whether it's if something's cheaper or less expensive, for the most part there is normally going to be a reason as to why that is.
Yep.
And so this week we had got involved with a windshield being replaced on a vehicle, and customer elected to go with an aftermarket glass or aftermarket windshield, which huge comparison in expense, higher mileage vehicle. So I get it. I mean, I understand why you would do that, but in doing that with this system and what all it monitors and everything like that, there was a cause and effect. So had a heads up display that would indicate, vehicles in front. And if your closing speed was too quick, it would notify you or flash. Well, with the aftermarket glass, it actually made that system to where the depth of which it notified you was different from the factory glass. But then you think about it, what's the clarity of the glass?
Thickness.
What's the thickness of it? All that camera, what's the position or angle of the camera, how it reads, how is the glass bonded in between the layers? There's so many different things, again, cause and effect. And so, yeah, it was a cheaper glass, but now you've also elected to alter this system from factory, so you really don't know what you have long term.
Right. And I'm going to go another step too, is that glass. People, I didn't realize it for a long time too. The glass is actually a structurally fit thing that helps the car
it's
correctly in a crash and everything.
Certified to assist in the aid of a crash. So whether it's the deployment of the airbags, I mean, a lot of airbags, especially the passenger side airbag, will come up and hit the glass, and then the glass deflects the airbag out to the occupant from that side. And so if the structural integrity of the glass is lessened, it's going to change how that airbag deploys.
Gotcha.
And there's just so much on the safety side of it. And then, everybody says, okay, well, I'm never going to be in a wreck. Well, that might be true, but you're never going to want it. There's never going to be a time in your ownership that you wish you had the best of everything other than in that moment. And to degrade that or change that beforehand is really unfair, I guess, so to speak. You're not doing yourself a service, a long-term service, any good for sure. So, but just the amount of cameras, amount of things that the vehicle's monitoring, it'll blow you away if you stop and really think about it and understand exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, I get it anyway. So, and then this picture you have here is there's probably more stuff going on here than what we can really see here, what's happening there too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Just going through and listing all the components, whether it's the lane keeping assist or the adaptive cruise control, the collision avoidance, the pedestrian awareness, the backup cameras, the park aids, front and rear, all the way around, the lane keeping, blind spot monitoring. I mean, there's just so many things. The other side of it is headlights. Automatic dimming headlights is another thing that uses this system.
Anyway, Tim Daniels got a question here. Why wouldn't Ford cut out the windshield area around the cameras and sensors so they wouldn't be part of the windshield replacement? Well, part of that is because most of those cameras are hanging on the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
That's what, because they got to point forward and stuff too. So that mirror is where they're anchoring on there from that part. You can look up at those windshields now in the center. You just see a little mirror hanging up there. Now you got a big old mass of stuff setting up there to be able to see those cameras. I don't know if you've got a better.
Well, and so I was even thinking not just specific Ford, but I was thinking of any manufacturer. I don't know of any manufacturer that doesn't put the camera in the where the rearview mirror are.
I mean, you got to think how it's got to see out to be able to see what's going on.
I think some of it is just to have the protection of the glass covering the lens of the camera, so that if a rock jumped up or something, like, it's going to break the windshield instead of the camera. But then like I said, and then I think too, just the position being kind of the highest center point of the vehicle for observation or viewing, I'm sure is probably another reason why that thing is up there like it is.
Big enough view of a picture, or wide enough view to come through there and stuff too.
As opposed to like on the grill of the car or so you're able to kind of cover, if you look at the blue line right where it goes across the front fenders of the car, you're able to see kind of the whole front end of the car from that angle or perspective. I'm trying to think of.
I'm not trying to throw another kink here or whatever. So let's go to the Blue Cruise cars.
Okay.
Is this all still the same amount of cameras for the Blue Cruise cars, or is there more cameras for Blue Cruise?
No, so there are some more, and this image is really just almost. I mean, it's a little bit of a generic overall range, but there are more sensors, because like this one here doesn't even have the out of the tail lights. So our radar coming out of our rear tail lights is not in this image as well.
Okay, so now let's go another step further. We got Blue Cruise, but is the Blue Cruise the same thing like on an F-150? Is that the same thing in the Mach-E? Is it a Blue Cruise car too, or is there something different for the Mach-E?
I think those systems
totally different, aren't they?
Yeah, are different. I know like even the facial recognition portion of that is different between the F-150s and the Mach-E's as well.
Well, and so let's go and just think about how things are going to progress. I keep thinking when these new cars come out, there's not much more can be put on these cars to do, but there's more stuff coming. We can believe here, but just think of the technology as cameras have improved over years.
Sure,
different things are going to come up with to be able to do this. And it's like right now on the Blue Cruise on F-150, as soon as you change lanes, it cuts out. I hear they're awful close to having, when you change lanes, it's going to stay engaged too. Don't know if that's going to be an upgrade or whatever to the existing trucks or whatever from that part, but.
So while we're on the topic of cameras, let's talk about that just for a second. So I want to know I need somebody to call in. They've basically federally mandated rear view cameras on a vehicle.
I didn't realize that. You got to have a backup camera.
On new production models of vehicles, you have to have a backup camera. So to a consumer, do you use your backup camera or do you use your mirrors? Or do you turn around? How do you do that? And then if it is that you use your rear view mirror or your cameras, have you gotten to a vehicle that didn't have that camera, and how did it make you feel? Because I'll tell you, I got in an Explorer the other day, and it did not have a backup camera, and it just threw me completely off not having that backup camera. For sure, it made me have a new understanding of how reliant you become on those comfort features.
Well, like I told you the other day, when I was teaching Jake and Ellie to drive, and of course every car I had a backup camera, and they were using that to back up. I said, "Don't you dare! You learn to back up without that backup camera." But now today, I mean, shoot, I hate to tell you how many times I look behind myself to back up anymore.
So the evolution of the monkey, I guess. So my question is, do our necks not pivot far enough now because we don't turn around?
Okay, Delbert says, I have a small issue with my front camera. The window is clean, and a nice day, the camera seems to decide it doesn't want to operate. I can't remember what it tells me, but I just hit the OK button, and after that, I don't notice anything any different.
So obviously clarity is one thing, and then we've run into this too. Okay, yeah, it looks clear and everything's fine, but I've seen small pits in the windshield, or like a little rock chip or sand pit, and it'd be something that you would think there's no way that that's the problem with something. We had an F-150 the other day that we put a windshield in it and it fixed it, and just looking at it and the clarity of it, and like I could not have told you that there was a problem with the windshield, but we put a windshield in it and it fixed the truck. I mean, after we had done multiple other components to try and resolve it, just because we were in disbelief that it was the windshield. But sure enough, that fixed it up. So there's a lot of things. So one, verifying, I guess, the clarity of it and cleanliness of it. But then the second thing is alignment. Going to talk about the alignment all the time is a huge thing, and so to make sure that is seeing what it's supposed to be seeing.
Yeah.
In the right direction. Going back to your calibrations and updates, is all the systems where they need to be on the level that they need to be.
Let's go. These cars are doing these over the air updates at night, or whenever you can schedule them to do it when you want them to do it or whatever. I'm just wondering how much more down the road we will get with that.
I do see it being more and more for sure. The thing with the over the air updates is there's only so much that the manufacturers are going to be able to do on those, because here's why. They can't take a vehicle offline for a consumer, so the updates that they're pushing to these vehicles are, I guess I'm trying to figure out how to classify this or word this. I would say like low level updates, things like that. It's not going to be something that is powertrain related or transmission related, that if
they're doing sync updates,
if it was in the
minor updates, I guess is how you want to
if it was in the middle of the update and the consumer needed their car, that vehicle has to start and run and drive down the road. And there's only certain numbers of updates that they're able to do that for.
I see. Okay, so that makes sense. It can't. So it's doing its over-the-air update, and the customer's got to go at 4:00 in the morning, and it's doing its update, and guess what? It can't run because it's in the middle of an update.
Yeah, and they're not going to leave a consumer stranded because of an update. Like,
yeah,
you just can't do that. And so
I just wonder, what I'm saying is, how's the technology going to improve to where maybe they can do these updates in 10 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, so definitely from that, and that's even something to talk about, is just what it takes to. I mean, we can go back all the way back to OBD1 or even before that on scanning a vehicle and what it takes to pull a diagnostic trouble code. Your check engine light comes on. What's wrong with it? I mean, years ago, all the way back, you took a paper clip and you stuck it in the DLC.
That's how I started.
and you
watch the light flash.
and the check engine light flashed at you.
And we had 2-digit codes.
Okay.
Starting with 10. Starting with 11.
Yeah. So 13.
13 was oxygen sensor.
Yeah. So 11 started the reading the codes, and then there was another code at the end of it that said that you were finished. So basically, it started with this one, then it flashed the code. So you knew you was done.
Yeah.
And then it may flash another code.
You have 2 or 3 codes in there.
And then the
21 is TPS.
Yeah, and then in code
33 map sensor.
So, but that took.
There was 20 codes, if I remember correctly, on the first cars that come out in the mid 80s.
So
85, I think.
To do that process, how long did it take?
2 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
2 minutes, maybe.
I mean,
yeah, something like that.
No time at all. And then you go to, so kind of OBD1 was that realm of things. Then they got more standardized, and you had consistency in OBD1 across all manufacturers. Because when they first came out, a manufacturer could have what they call a data link connector.
I remember getting the scan tool out and trying to figure out which connector I was going to use. There was just oodles of connectors.
There's like 43 plugs,
Yeah.
and then
Then you had a cat.
You had the key.
Had the key to put in there and make it
stuck in there that completed the circuit in the right way.
Yeah.
So you had all the. I mean, it to physically scan the vehicle and check the code maybe took a minute, but it took you probably 10 minutes to figure out where the connector was, what plug you were supposed to use. And so they came out, manufacturers came out and said, okay, hold on here. We got to have some consistency here. And so the data link connector had to be a certain distance from the steering column. And so everybody,
knew where to put it.
Pretty much where they're at. So you didn't have to search all around. And then they had a standardized connector that all the DLCs had to be the same connector. And then you go to OBD2, and with that, obviously became more modules, more communication. And to go through and scan a vehicle with OBD2 really ranged from, maybe 5 minutes to 10 minutes, depending upon how many different modules there are in it. And then, I mean, now we're up to just Ford specifically, the FDRS system, but the number of modules and codes that are out there, I mean, literally to check for diagnostic trouble codes and every module on a vehicle, it's a 20-minute process.
Yep.
It's a 15 to 20-minute process to go through and do it correctly.
And then you want to run to a parts store and get a code reader out and try to figure out your code, right?
Yeah, somebody drives into O'Reilly's and said, hey, they scanned my code and it took 2 seconds to do, and they gave me this code and said I needed an oxygen sensor.
So far bad.
So first of all,
which oxygen sensor?
Yeah,
because there's only 6 on them now.
There's absolutely no way possible that. First of all, the code you got was a generic code. It wasn't a manufacturer specific code. It was a generic code. Yep. Now, they could have threw a dart and landed on bullseye. I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but man, the odds of it
and the chances, I'm betting the other way though. I'll promise you that
is so far from actually being able to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, 316-462-3673. Love to hear from you. Anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, you want to talk about this technology, whatever you want to talk about, we'd love to hear from you and give you that great price package, about over $130. So
I still want to know from a backup camera perspective is who uses them versus.
I use them every day. Every time I get in there, I put it in reverse, it's on, and I'm watching the camera. I don't bend my. It is right. We're going to have to start getting some neck muscles going on, Josh, getting our heads worked in. Yes, we're not turning our heads around.
They call it the owl syndrome. You got to get your head on the swivel.
Well, I'm going to tell you, before we got everything hooked up on the race trailer and back it in the stall and everything, I had to turn my head around and make sure where I was at and everything. I was like, woo, boy, my necklace got hurt now. I think about it.
Go home at night and have Mary rub it out.
So any questions about technology or how much you use, don't use from that part? And, I'm going to tell you, I'm driving a Raptor right now and I miss the Blue Cruise already. Because I used it, coming down 235, everything else like that.
So, and for you, like the route you were taking, that Blue Cruise probably.
It'd go all the way down Kellogg. It would get 235, and as soon as I'd get off on Meridian there, it was off.
Yeah, and so the route that I was taking, going home, it
cuts off at
Mays, and so it didn't really do me anything there. I did, I used it from time to time and stuff, and it definitely seemed cool. I just for me, and it was like adaptive cruise control, really.
Yeah.
When that first came out, I didn't really use it, and the reason for it was not that I didn't trust it. It's just I would find myself in the right lane. I'd have my cruise set. Let's say the speed limit was 70. I'd have it set at maybe 71 too.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Josh, my mama told me to go the same place for line as you do stealings. And it's, you had her set on 79. I know.
But I'd come up behind a car that was doing 65 and I'm not paying a bit of attention in the world to my speed. And I'd look down and I'm doing, 65 instead of 71 or 72. And so for me, it was more about the I guess kind of relinquishing control to the vehicle.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing with Blue Cruise, but now, man, adaptive cruise control, you getting something that doesn't have it, and I'll run rear end somebody.
Well, and my deal is just you got to trust it. And those first couple of times, it's hard to trust that thing. Sure. Know it's going to break, going to stop, and and from that part. But boy, I tell you, I do miss the Blue Cruise to be able to, I'm driving safe and everything else, from that part. Let's be truthful. It's a lot easier to text with that Blue Cruise than it's not. I don't text and drive. I drive and text.
Yeah, there you go. One with the other.
One with the other. But hey, anyway, anything? Hey, everybody, love to hear from you. Any technology questions you got or experiences you have from that part? Love to hear from you and figure out exactly what you use and what you don't use. That's for sure. So, yeah, so I can't wait for the Blue Cruise to be having the lane change to stay in there and staying engaged and stuff too. I'm almost wondering what's going to be new on the 24 F-150, what new technology you're going to put into that truck.
Well, and you think about that. I like what could be next.
Oh, I know. That's what I said. What can be next?
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I know they're going to advance the Blue Cruise and the autonomous driving and stuff like that for sure.
Well, I'm going to go to that Super Duty I'm using to pull a race trailer with. I mean, when I got in, it's a Lariat. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles on it yet, but the heads-up display up in the windshield. I missed that because years ago, GM had it. But now the thing that's up there in heads-up display used to be just a speedometer and maybe a couple of little things when GM had it.
Engine temp or something. Yeah.
But now it's got the navs up in there, your directions in there, your blind sights in there, your lane centering's in there. It's so cool from that part. But then I'm telling you, the first time that I hit that turn signal on and that camera that's in the mirror shoots all the way down the trailer, and you can see what's going on. It is so handy to pass when you're passing somebody, knowing when to turn in and everything and seeing what you've got there on the side and stuff. So all that technology in these trucks are crazy. I can't wait to get these limiteds and platinums in here to see all the backup assist and everything they're going to have on them too.
So on that on that truck with the 6.7 in it, is that the high output 6.7?
It is the high output.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I figured there was a delay on that deal.
No, we got the high output. They're done making the high outputs for 23.
Yeah,
already, but because I knew it was going to be a high demand, but
sure,
but I don't think they can build all with the fragile parts and stuff like that too. But it's got power. Don't kid yourself. But I can't tell that much difference because I'm pulling a different trailer. Now,
yeah, that's true.
Nick and parts guys are pulling our same race trailers and stuff, and they say it's night and day difference how much better, more torque and more power that the thing has with that. But I'm pulling a bigger trailer this year than what I had, so and more weight in there, so I can't really tell how much difference there is. Because from that part, what I need to go do is go get a regular truck without the high output, put it on my trailer, and go drive and see how much difference I see from there. But I will tell you, going to Hayes. And I'm guessing I'm pulling 20,000 is what I'm guessing. I need to weigh. There's a place there in Saline I can weigh it. I need to do that. I just haven't stopped enough to do that. But going to Hayes and pulling those hills, going there, that thing will never shift out of 10th gear. That's how much torque that thing's got. Pulling those big hills out there and everything, you would think it would downshift, but it will not downshift. It just stays in 10th gear and goes. From that part, it's pretty
well. And then the transmission too, they've upped the transmission with the select shift mode. Was another big add for that 23. So the transmission is a little bit different than that as well. So
I didn't know they changed the tranny, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the other thing that I was wondering about, and I can't say that I've even been in one yet. They came out with a 7.3 in the new Super Duty, so the gas engines. I don't think I've drove one of those.
I'm not either. We do have one. A guy he ordered a trimmer with a 7.3 in it and didn't take it. So we got a trimmer sitting out here with a 7.3 in it available for sale right now that the guy just didn't take from that part. So yeah, I need to drive a 7.3 too. I really never have really drove a 7.3 that much.
The gas engine needed something different for Super Duty options for sure, and so I think that 7.3 will meet that demand for sure.
Well, and now they've got rid of the 6.2 and went to a 6.8, so I'm not sure why a 6.8 to 7.3, what the real difference there is in those two motors or whatever either, because I think they're both back. I think the 6.8's back to a push rod motor just like the 7.3 is and stuff too, and why the difference.
You wouldn't think they'd be that much spec difference to have that two offerings for sure.
So yeah, I don't know. There's got to be some real big difference from that 6.8 to 7.3 for sure.
So you mentioned the 24 F-150. When do you think we'll see one of those?
Well, I got some. Hang on a minute.
And then we were talking about inventory a little bit earlier today, and we are actually starting to receive some new inventory in. Compared to how we were, it's definitely getting better. But then also, I think we can kind of talk just a little bit more about inventory and what we're starting to see or receive.
Hey, Rex is finally here. Morning, Rex. Hey, anyway, kind of some updates on things. This is hot off the press, and it also has a big disclaimer down at the bottom.
It says we can change this at any time.
Yeah. So anyway, 24 F-150. Ooh, look at that. They're going to build a third plant for F-150s. How about that? I didn't catch that till just now, but there's going to be a new plant for F-150s. Oh, that's the F1. That's the, it's really not the, it's the Lightning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Okay, so looks like we're going to start building the 24s somewhere around the end of November. So we will see them probably, I'm going to guess, January 1st, kind of where we're at. Now, here's another trick thing, too. Super Duty is they're going to start building 24 Super Duties at the end of October. So
Okay.
very, very short run on the 23 model
Yeah.
year trucks from that stuff. So we'll start seeing, we're going to see the 24 Super Duty in December.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so not too far away on that part too. Now Ranger, that's the new next thing. Rangers, all new Ranger coming, and it's of course we're starting to take orders on those, but we will see those guessing somewhere in the middle of September.
Okay.
On
And that'll be
Ranger.
the 24 model.
24 model, yeah.
Yeah.
From that part.
And
so
I can remember years ago, it'd be July and you'd be getting next year model vehicles.
Yep.
You know, and you know, to speak to inventory a little bit, like we are actually starting to see some, and we actually have. I mean, if you wanted a new F-150 right now today, we have some on our lot.
Got about 100 sitting out there right now on the F-150. So we got some F-150s, we got some Explorers, we got some Bronco Sports. We're back up to about 190 units on the ground. So still the hard thing is a Super Duty. We cannot. Everything is made by order on a Super Duty.
So.
And
so
Bronco's kind of getting a little bit lenient on that part too, but not quite yet. There's still retail orders coming in on those
Super Duties, and then probably what would be maybe the transit vans, like
the transit. That's
vans.
another thing. Transit is so hard, and they're trying to get that ramp back up and everything else like that. I hope that Amazon's got their orders by now, so we can get some of our own orders and stuff too by that part. But transits is getting very hard.
And that, to me, that's the commercial market on both those vehicles. Really, is the demand on that commercial market is what's made those so rare from that side of it. So
yeah, exactly.
And then if you were in the selection of what we have, are you seeing that they're kind of sticking with the same models? In other words, like on F-150s, like you're producing a lot of like XLTs and maybe kind of Lariat models and not as many higher ends? Or
the F-150 mix is pretty good, really, to be honest with you. They finally got enough mixes of all the different models and things like that coming. The higher end truck, like the Limited and Platinum King Ranch, got a few of them sitting out here from that part. But our bread and butter is the XLT. I mean, that's where the most of the trucks are sold is in that category and stuff too. We got several of those, so lots of things out there available in the F-150 range, that's for sure.
And then with this, I guess, increase in inventory that we're seeing, it's affecting the used market as well, right?
Yeah, the used market is coming back down. Here's some stats I heard the other day. Now it's kind of a setting back and looking back a couple years ago, but basically pre-COVID to going in, the used car market jumped 41%. It's come back down now. We're back about 31% now from where we're at. So it's come down about 10%. And that's the guessing game now, is where is it going to find land or whatever. But it's also what I envisioned was going to happen is as new cars started coming and we missed all those used car trades, that our used car inventory was going to dwindle. And yes, I'm down about 100 used cars that would I like to have setting out here. So that's the next thing. Is that going to drive that used car market back up, or is that just going to stabilize it there at that 31% over the COVID years or whatever? I don't know. That's the guessing game of what's going to happen to the market and things like that. My best guess, what I bet's going to happen, because we got new car inventory. I think the used car market is going to still dwindle down slowly. and I think we'll land somewhere around the 20% range is kind of where we're going to land and stay stable there. Now, how quick's it going to get from the 30s to the 20s? I don't know. I mean, that's another guessing game from that part. And I'm going to tell you where I think where some of it's playing into play is interest rates. I mean, because the interest rates
Definitely.
have come up, and that affects payments and affects everything in there on that equation. So I think that's going to play the factor in there too. But who knows what that crystal ball's got out there for what that's going to play into, what's going to happen. But I'm going to say that we got to get into. I think everything will be stable about a year from now. We'll kind of know where we're at again and what the market's going to go do and everything else from that standpoint too.
So, along those same lines, I got a couple of other questions for you.
Okay.
And again, nobody is really going to know, I think, until this deal kind of irons out or levels out. But you have all these vehicles or all these customers or consumers that were on let's say a pretty consistent trade cycle.
3 years. Yeah.
That
Mhm.
say, the majority of people had in their minds that every 3 years I want a new vehicle, or every 2 years I want a new
Yep.
vehicle. Well, now they've disrupted that and they couldn't get that. So is that going to change their buying cycle long term? So
Could.
you have these people that traded every 3 years, but now they've got a paid off vehicle. What's that going to do to their
Yeah, I
buying
mean,
cycle
it
long
could.
term?
Well, what it's going to do, in my opinion, is going to determine their buying cycle when they can buy, meaning what do they owe versus what's that vehicle worth? I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to play a lot of factor into that equation. And that's where we've been is we've been able to sell quite a few people because their trade was worth so much more money uh, from that part. But, depending on what you borrowed, what you did and everything else from that part, what will happen? I don't know.
Well, and then you can even take that a step further is that, okay, what the market was on that used vehicle 6 months ago or 9 months
Yep.
ago when somebody went into it, and now, I don't want to say it's tanked, but it's definitely altered or changed from what it was 6 months ago, and so now somebody maybe held in something a little bit longer just because of what they had to pay for it because of what their options was at that point versus, what it's going to be 2 years from now or 3 years from now.
Running into that a lot right now with that kind of a situation is, what's the vehicle worth? What's its payoff? And then everybody's got a different book out there you can look at. And that's the next thing is we have our tool that we bid our cars with that I monitor every day. I spend a lot of time watching what the used cars are doing and everything else too. Not just ours. I watch the markets and just seeing what everybody's selling, what's not selling, and everything else too. This tool we have is a phenomenal tool. But years ago, I could walk up to a used car and pretty much walk around and tell you what that thing was worth. Today, it takes me minimum. I'm going to tell you minimum of 10 minutes after I get it loaded in the system to go through and make sure that I've got every option clicked that vehicle has. Because there's so many options that you can and can't have back and forth to put that in there. And then I look at about 4 different categories or books or whatever you want to call them from what's this thing really worth.
It's just a matter of doing good market research.
Yeah. And then the next thing you'll find, and still kind of you'll see one book that's high and then you got another book down there below that's low. What is the right number?
Yeah.
And this tool that I have, it lets me know what's out there for sale, how long they've been sitting on the lots. And then it's also lets me know what's sold, how fast that turn is and stuff like that too, and what they sold for. And so what's something worth? It's when someone wants to pay. When they write a check for something, that's what something is worth.
Yeah.
And that's why you need all this data to know what's selling, what it's sold for, how long it took to sell it, sort of the market day supply and all that stuff that's setting out there. And that is one thing that is out there right now. The market day supply of the used car market is dwindling.
Yeah.
So will that drive the market back up? Right now, it hasn't drove it back up yet, but I think it might go back up with the market. I don't know.
Yeah. And then you have the other side of that is that's something that you can't just set that and let it be, in 3 weeks from now, it's going to be different.
It's I've got it down now. It used to be every day I looked at every stinking car. Now I'm down to twice a week. I'm actually looking at every car, seeing making sure that it's priced right, it's on the market, all that kind of stuff. Because that is what it is. It's a competitive marketplace out there for what everybody's got. I see some dealers that have got inventory sitting on their lots. I see dealers that don't have much. I see dealers that are putting a ton of money in some cars that I wouldn't have put money in, that kind of thing, stuff too. So I'm being very cautious on that part, but I want to take care of everybody the best we can. But putting the right value on a car today is very hard.
And what do you think, like long term? So from Ford's perspective is that, like the lean manufacturing, do you think that they want as many units out there as there was pre-COVID?
No, I do not.
You know what
I
I'm
do not.
saying?
I do not. I do not think they want us. We at one point we had 800-900 new sitting on this ground out here, and I don't think we'll ever be back to that. I think if we're back up to 400, will be the most we'll probably ever have, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to build to order, build more. Keep things moving as fast as they can, and
do a
and
lean production.
and I'm
to
going to be
where
honest
they're
with you. Us
getting it
having 400
faster.
cars on the ground versus having, say, even 800 cars on the ground is much more profitable for us to have 400 than it has 800, because of interest rates and everything else. We got
Sure.
to pay floor
The
plan
floor
interest on
plan.
those cars sitting out there. But if we can have the right mix, the right demand, the right colors, the right stuff.
And I think the other thing that would play in that too is that if a consumer wanted a car and you could get it in a very reasonable amount of time,
And that's and that's getting there. If you order an F-150 today, we're back down to that 6-8 week window. Even on a cheaper Super Duty right now, I'm seeing it's about 90 days that I can
really,
get an XLT or lower. If you put one of those in, it's crazy how fast they're getting built. I put a truck in 2 weeks ago and it's ready in the plant.
yeah,
An XLT crew cab 4-wheel drive and a diesel too, and it's in the plant 2 weeks later from that part. Explorer kind of same way. I could have one sitting here in 6-8 weeks. Bronco Sports about the same way from that part. So it's getting there. We're getting better. The supply and demand, but the thing is we're still building a lot of vehicles that don't have all the chips or parts in them too. From that part, it's like still the F-150s today have no heated steering wheel. They have no massage seats. They have the advanced auto starts out of them, the advanced security systems out of them for all the chips and parts that they can't build. And now on the Super Duties, we can't get a fifth wheel prep package. We can't get spray and bed liners. And also the high end seats had to be, they told us to take them out of some orders, and we did that part. So they're still not they're building units, but we just don't have all the options on these units that we have that are coming in.
And then the kind of the other side of that is, and I've thought that too for many years, even pre-COVID, is just all the different options that they've have in some of these vehicles, like why they wouldn't make it more standardized just for ease of manufacturing. You would think going down an assembly line when you add so many units that have this. And
what they're doing, Josh, they're going into what they call rapid replenishment. So they've went out, for example, let's take Explorer, and they've went out and they've got enough data now to know that this trim level, these colors are your most popular colors, and so they come out and they tell us, okay, here's your rapid replenishment for your stock orders. Do you want them or don't you? You can take them or you don't have to take them. Of course, I'm taking everything I can take for what they're offering. And they sometimes will let you choose from, say, a 301 to 302A, move that around a little bit. But here's your base trim level. Here's your things, and here's your orders, and boom, here they come. And they were doing that on Explorer, Escape, Bronco Sport, and then F-150 is going to be there just right around the corner. But I don't think we're going to see it on F-150 until 24 with the new body style stuff too. So basically, here's going to come here's your standard XLT, here's your standard Lariat, here's your standard XL, and here's your standard Platinum. And here's your stock orders, how many you want, what colors you want, and away you go. So if a customer comes in and says, well, I want this other option, well, guess what you're going to have to do? Then you're going to have to order that truck from that part. But they are going to go into standardizing what orders they're sending us for stock orders, basically what they're going to do. But I hope they can get it to where they can, if I have to put a Platinum order in or an XLT order in on an F-150, we need to get it here in a
reasonable amount of time.
6 weeks would be perfect, in my opinion, to be able to put that thing in the inline and build it through there. But again, we got to get this part situation figured out too.
And I really do think the perception from the customers have changed over the last couple of years too, of, hey, I want it right this minute, to understanding that I'm going to have to order it and it's going to take a little while to get it too. And not just in our industry, just in everybody's industry, due to availability of components and stuff like that,
Yeah, no, I get that too. It's in everything that's out there right now and stuff, it's anything you kind of want to order. I think we're getting into a norm of thinking how long things are going to take. I hope we get this whole supply chain turned around. And I do think it's going to take till next June or somewhere, at least or sometime in that time frame to get a more level playing field of getting it leveled out to where the supply chain is where it needs to be, and not having the prices high it is. And then next thing I just hope we can get back and get these interest rates back down. I think they're too high. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I understand what they're I understand what they're doing. I don't like what they're doing. They're doing it to try to slow down inflation. But I think raising interest rates and everything else like that eliminates jobs. I mean, we can get on and all that kind of stuff, but I just hope we can get the interest rates back down at a reasonable number that's more affordable for everybody, so they can afford to buy more things and do more things and stuff like that. That's what I hope. I hope that's around the corner and everything else from that standpoint too. So anyway, Josh, running out of time. Lots of stuff to talk about and everything else like that too. Everybody, again, we kind of get to rattle on and forget about our sponsors and everything else each and every time. But do appreciate BG Products, all the great preventative maintenance products we use right inside here at Mel Hambelton Ford. Also, all the great partnerships we have with those guys. And, they come and get our cars and take them off the lot and take them over to their facilities and their research and development and do different testing and stuff on it. And kind of like you get some free services out of it for the next customer on that standpoint too. So anyway, and Big Corner Creative for all your advertising needs. Hey, if you got a company, a business, or anything you need some help with advertising, Jesse has got a great crew of people down there that web page design, vehicle wraps, window wraps, direct mail, whatever it might be that you need to get your vehicle taken care of or advertise your business, whatever it is. Jesse and those guys, as they say down there, just Google it. So Big Corner, God, I can't spit it out either. Go to Rent. Hey, Stan's got a great fleet of vehicles over there now. He's going to get some new vehicles over there tomorrow on Monday. We're going to move some new F-150s over into his fleet from that standpoint. So a lot of exciting stuff happening over there, and Go to Rent too. So if you're looking for a 12 or 15 passenger van, give Stan a call right inside here at Mel Hambelton Ford at Go to Rent. Hey, everybody, have a great Saturday. And hope the rain, I know we need the rain too, so kind of ties up some of that racing. Dang it.
It's going to rain. It's going to rain today and tomorrow too, so we just will get it going.
Let's get her done. We need the rain. I get it. Just don't rain on Fridays and Saturdays, okay? That's all I care about.
Specific or anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. Hey, everybody, thanks again for watching, listening, and all the comments and stuff too. Everybody have a great Saturday. We'll talk to you next Saturday, 9 o'clock.